Hi guys, so I'm here on the Heart-Centered Visionary platform with Madisyn Alberry. I'm super excited to have you today. So Madisyn is the owner and founder of Butterfly Medicine. She's an astrologer, artist, healer, and intuitive. And honestly, you have so many gifts that I want to explore with you today. So
Thank you.
welcome. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Feeling good and clear and grounded. So happy to be here.
Great. And you're in, you said North Carolina in America.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Beautiful.
hmm
Yeah,
Yes.
the other side of the world from me.
Right? So interesting how this time has brought so many people from so many corners of the world together. It's
Yeah,
so interesting.
it's
So
magical.
grateful for that. Yeah,
Yeah,
magic.
it really is. Yeah. So I'd love to just dive in because I read that you created Butterfly Medicine to share your gifts and to help others discover theirs. So
Mm.
where did that, where did it all start for you? What was it to astrology?
Right? I love this question. So it all started, I was studying art in college. And on my in between classes, I realized I was studying astrology like so religiously. Like I had two books. I was working at Books a Million at the time, a bookstore, and you could check out books. So I was always checking out these astrology books. I had my journal that had like all of the information about each planet, each sign, and that's where I started with the planets and the signs. And the more I learned, the more it just stuck to my brain. And the more I studied my chart and those that I love, the more that I saw the value of this is so self-validating. And this is so beautiful, like to use as a tool for your relationships, because you get to know these people on a whole nother level. Whereas you might be like, why don't we get along? Why don't we, without astrology, it's like, there's like this confusion, whereas if you understand the energies of, oh, your Mercury is in a completely different, on the complete other side of the chart than mine, it's like, oh, we can meet in the middle, and I can have more patience with you, I can have more grace with you. And the more that I studied my family's, my friends' charts, that's when I was like, this is a tool, this is an incredible tool. And the more I shared it with people, they were like, holy cow, you're hitting the nail on the head every time. Like, this is me, but I don't talk about this, or I don't share this, or I didn't realize like this is what I could work on. And like, it just was such a beautiful blossoming of finding the seed of finding the knowledge and then exploring it and sharing it, and that just grew in such a beautiful way into my own personal evolution, helping other people on their personal evolution. And I was just like, I have to share this, I have to share it. And so yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That I love those stories, like you're saying, that just understanding people at a deeper level is literally transformational, isn't it? You know,
Exactly, butterfly medicine, exactly,
I love,
transformational. It's like
love the name. Yeah, it's incredible. And it often like, as you said, you're in the bookshop. I
yeah.
always noticed that, and when myself I was drawn to astrology, I was like seeking something in my life, I was
Mhm.
seeking a sense of deeper fulfillment and purpose. So
Yeah.
I'm curious, was there kind of a light bulb moment for you that you realized, as you said, looking at your family's chart, was there a light bulb that was like, oh, I've got to share this with the world?
Yeah, so it was, I met my friend Isla, and they are an incredible intuitive. And I went to a psychic fair, and I was like, I had been studying astrology for like a year when I met them, and they were doing Vedic astrology or Vedic astrology readings at the psychic fair. And I sat down with them, and they were like, you're meant to do what I'm doing. Like,
Wow.
yeah. And I had another aha moment 2 years later when I had a astrology reading with my friend Charlie King, and she said to me as well, you're meant to be doing what I'm doing. And so this is those were my aha moments when I had readings, and they were like, you're supposed to do
Wow.
what I'm doing. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's incredible that somebody affirms that, that your curiosity is drawn there, and then they're saying you should be doing this. I'm
it's
really
such
curious.
validation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
You're
really
good.
curious to know what was, they were psychics. Was there like a signature in your chart that they saw, oh, you should be doing astrology?
I'm not 100% sure exactly what they saw, perhaps because my South Node is in Pisces.
Um,
So, yeah, and it's in my first house. So, understanding the self, specifically through intuitive gifts that I developed in a past life. And then, of course, my North Node is in Virgo and the seventh house. So, North Node in Virgo, helping other people, healing through those intuitive gifts, healing by helping other people understand themselves, but sharing it in a one-on-one setting. So I feel like, yeah, that's where I see it in my chart. And as they've dove into my chart many times, and they see something different every time. So it's like we could go on all day. It's just it's all so interesting. And my Jupiter is in my first house as well, conjunct my Venus.
Oh wow, that's a lovely signature.
Yes, thank you.
Jupiter, Venus, I think of so much expansion with bringing harmony and beauty to the world.
Exactly. Yes,
You
so
know,
great.
so in your chart, because I know you've got a mixture of, like, your sun is in Taurus, I saw your moon's in Gemini, rising in Aquarius. How do you work with all these energies? Because as an intuitive and creative, I imagine that from what I've seen of your work, that's what you bring into your readings. So how do you bring all your gifts into helping others?
Yes. So when it comes to doing a reading, I teach astrology, I do readings, but when it comes to doing readings, specifically diving into the intuitive side of it, when I start a reading, I'll light a candle for that person. I call upon their guides, angels, and higher self for the greatest and highest good to come with the reading. And then I light a candle for myself, calling in my guides, angels, and higher self for the greatest and highest good to come with the reading for all beings everywhere. And so that's where I start. That way, whenever I blow the candle out at the end of the session, I'm fully and completely releasing that person back to themselves. And so that's what I found is the most like clean way to do that side of it.
Love
And
that.
so yes. So whenever I'm doing the reading, I at times I'm talking, but my human mind is like, we're talking right now. Like, I just like, it's just like there's a channel, and I'll sometimes do like a meditation depending on what I'm feeling intuitively needs to happen before the reading, connecting down to Mother Earth, feeling all the loving and nurturing energy being pulled up into my being, connecting to the sky and the great beyond, feeling all the guidance and wisdom coming down as a white light through each of my chakras. So it really depends. Yeah, thank you. It depends on the reading and what I'm intuitively feeling I need to prepare for. And I don't look at the chart before I do the reading. I just...
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I love that you're saying you pull that, the ritual of lighting a candle, because I think, and I know from reading, charts for people as well, it can be quite heady, we can get really stuck in our heads. And I used to write, tons of notes before reading, and I realized I was getting in my head and I wasn't trusting my intuition, to almost hear what's underneath what somebody's saying, to that truth, like it sounds like the way you work. So I love that, of just trusting that wisdom that will come through. And you specifically said you want to empower people, and you focus on evolutionary astrology. So I'd love to know a bit more. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, of course. So the empowerment side of it, I think there's so much empowerment just from knowing yourself, first off. So of course, looking at a chart, it's like you're meeting yourself. You're meeting all aspects of yourself. Each of these planets, each of these asteroids, each of these points, celestial points in the sky, is an archetype of who you are. So as you explore each of these archetypes, it's like so much validation and so much empowerment can come from taking away the shame of who we are, taking away all of those self-limiting beliefs, just by being like, no, this is who I am. I'm grounded in who I am. This is my mental energy. This is my emotional energy. This is my evolutionary journey. And it goes on because there's so many archetypes, right? In astrology, as you know.
Absolutely love the archetypes. Oh, this is something I could talk about all day.
I know, right?
So because, archetypes, that's something I love talking about with my clients and trying to give them an image of the, you know, the energy that's strong in their chart. And it's really helped me, like knowing that as a, you know, Capricorn sun with a ton of planets in Capricorn, you know, just seeing that sea goat, you know, this, the old version of it, you know, the goat with the fishtail, has really helped me connect with that. You know, what am I bringing through? What is my gift, and how do I express that? And I think it's a really powerful way to help, as you said, others connect to themselves and know themselves. So,
Exactly.
how have you worked with the archetypes? You know, how do you bring the archetypes into your work?
Yeah, so whenever I am explaining a planet, whatever it may be, I, like you said, going into the archetype of like Capricorn, with it being the sea goat, it's like I'll dive into like the goat, its goal is to reach the top of the mountain, right? So it has this long-term goal. Capricorns, they're long-term goal oriented. They
Yeah.
want to reach that long-term goal. But they have this beautiful mermaid tail, which they can see is the downfall, right? So it's like, because they're lugging it around, but it's truly their greatest gift because it's dipping into the intuitive side of astrology, into the waters of astrology, into the emotional, the psychic, the intuitive. So whereas the goat can say, this is the path I'm taking, the tail can say, no, there's an avalanche on that side of the mountain. So that's like the example that I usually give, specifically with Capricorn. I have examples for all of them, as I'm sure you know, and you have as well.
I love that with the what you said. That's never, I'm having a big insight here because I've never heard it described as, you said, that tail almost being like lugging the tail around. You know, that to me that's almost like a burden, but I saw that as the, you know, the wisdom, the watery wisdom, which is so interesting. You know, it makes a lot of sense to me.
Right.
And I think that archetype is, I don't know if you've seen this, but I think particularly that Capricorn archetype's misunderstood. You know, it's traditionally, right, the mountain goat of, and I can relate to this, I am very ambitious. I completely relate.
Of
Feel I
course you
take
are, you're
on,
Capricorn.
right? I take on everyone's burdens and feel responsible. But also, I feel I'm deeply sensitive and emotional. And I don't think that part of Capricorn is always acknowledged. So when I found the image of the sea goat, I was like, wow, this is really powerful. Instead of saying it's just a mountain goat.
Right, exactly, because it has
It's
this beautiful back.
yeah. So fascinating. Thanks for sharing that wisdom.
Yeah, of course. And the more that we understand the archetypes, the more that we understand these parts of ourselves that felt unexplainable before. Whereas like a lot of Capricorns, they're very driven, they're very logic driven, which the goat is the logic, and the masculine, right? And then the tail is the feminine, the intuition, the psychic ability. So when we look at both sides, it's like such a beautiful gift for Capricorns because they get to see, this is like, I am logic driven, but it is good for me to take time and space to, what's the word I'm looking for, to validate this feminine side of me, this emotional side of me, to not just like shoving these emotions down, pushing them aside, because like they so frequently can be like, well, this is not going to support me in my long-term goal, when in reality emotions are coming up for a reason. They're presenting you with wisdom. They're presenting you with some type of intuition. They don't come up for no reason, right? And so integrate both, all aspects of ourself. When we fully understand all aspects of ourself, that's when so much growth and transformation can happen, and empowerment, because we understand, this is who I am. I'm going to validate this side of myself. I'm going to step more into this side of myself. I'm going to push forward and grow and change and help other people step into their light, and so much beauty.
Beautiful. Yeah, I have so much wisdom to share, I know. So
right.
I just love to know, like, how, since you've been on the path of astrology, what are the kind of main shifts, and like what is the deepest transformation you've experienced yourself, you know, from your in your inner world and then your outer world?
Right. Yeah. I think one of the biggest things for me was seeing my Mercury is in Aries.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so it is, and understanding understanding all aspects of my chart, but specifically, like, as I dive into each archetype, it's like, oh my gosh, like, no wonder my mind is moving so quickly. But my
Yeah.
Taurus sun and my Taurus Mars on the outside, it looks like I'm just kind of like quiet and not really like processing a lot, but when in reality I've got 20 tabs open, I'm analyzing so much data all the time.
Love that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so much like information within my mind all the time, and seeing that within my chart, I was like, oh my gosh, like, how validating, like, I'm not crazy, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course,
Yeah, no, that's so interesting that you said that, you know, the Mercury is in Aries,
yeah,
you know, fire, and then you have you know, your sun is in Taurus. It's like that earth and fire, which I can relate to with my own chart.
I saw that. Yeah.
All right. So like my sun, Capricorn, and then my moon, Mercury is in Sagittarius. It's very different. And, you know, with the people I work with, I'm always trying to help them feel that element in the body, you know, the fire. If they have fire and they have earth,
Ooh.
they play out differently. You know, for me, it's an embodiment practice as well as knowing your Mercury is in Aries, for example. So
Right.
do you have a way of working with the elements with your clients?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I love that there's so many ways to practice astrology. Like, every time I speak to an astrologer, we speak the language so differently, and it's so beautiful and so refreshing, because it's just like, wow, it's just so beautiful.
Mm.
But when it comes to the elements, I don't really work a lot with the elements. I really dive more into what are the top, like if someone has like a huge stellium, like, I really look at the stelliums, like the bigger pools of energies in, and where those are in the charts, to really dive in and go through each archetype and go through and just be like, this can be activated by this is activating this, of course, through the aspects, which is like the telephone lines that go between each.
I love that. It's a great
Yeah,
image. Yeah.
yeah, right. It's like,
Yeah.
is the connection good, is it bad, what, like, you get to see what kind of conversation they're having through that telephone line. So
Yeah.
that's what I like to, yeah, dive into. So
Yeah.
when it comes to the elements, of course, if I see someone has like 10 water, 0 air, like, it's unavoidably obvious that I need to go into that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, like,
Intuitively led.
exactly, yeah, and that's another thing. If a lot of it, all of it, if not all, a lot of it is intuitively led. So sometimes I do go into the elements, depending on if it feels like it's flowing into that direction. But if it's not, then of course I'm not going to force it. So when it comes to the elements, like, with the way I look at it is like, if they have 10 water, like, I dive into how they can be so incredibly intuitively sensitive, creating some practices for themselves so that they can protect their energy and clear their energy, and know that they are a direct channel to source, their guides, their angels, their higher self, but not only theirs but other people. So making a some kind of practice so that they know they're safe, and that they can create a safe space within their energy field when they feel like they're not energetically safe. So
Yeah.
yeah, just, and a cleansing ritual, like, we'll go through whatever we feel called to go through. But it's just, yeah, if I see they have like 10 fire, then it's like going into the creative side, how creative they are, how quick moving they can be, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right. And with earth, it's like, you're very like grounded, very connected to this realm, very connected to routine. And air would be like analytically driven, like, you are like constantly
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. Yeah. And I notice a lot of clients that if a lot of people I work with tend to have a lot of water. And as you said, I see that or one of the themes I see with them is they're not good with boundaries, and they
Mm.
constantly feel overwhelmed, you know, by the world because they're so sensitive. So
Yeah.
I think you said like cleansing and those rituals to help them support
Yeah.
their well-being is so important. So,
100%.
so
Yeah.
I'd love to know as well, like, what are there similar themes or challenges you see from the people that come to get guidance from you?
Yeah. So it's of course different every day. But when I first started out with like within my first like few months of doing readings professionally, I realized that every day my like client lineup, they would all have the same north node and south node.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting.
It was so interesting. And that, I think that was almost the universe's way of saying you're meant to work with north node and south node. You're meant to work with north node and south node, like calling so obvious attention to that point in the chart. And that's usually where I feel intuitively guided to start now, because there's so much value in the north node and the south node, validating who you are and your natural gifts and your karmic path, and then diving into how you can use those gifts to step into your purpose. Like, everyone wants to know their purpose, everyone wants to know why they're here, and there's so much value in just being able to be like, this is why you're here, this is how you're going to reach this point, and this is the journey, and these are other aspects that are supporting this journey. So I think that was like the journey of seeing those
Love
over
that.
again. Yes.
So interesting. And what signs were they in? I'm curious.
Oh my gosh, it was different like every day. It was crazy. And it would be people that sometimes that were even 18 years apart, because that's the full transit of the north node and south node. So it
Yeah.
was like people from completely different eras,
Mm.
like with the same karmic journey. It was so interesting.
So fascinating. I love that you start there because,
Mhm.
as you said, people want to know what their purpose is. That's I get
Yeah.
the question a lot. It's not a
Yeah.
straightforward answer, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it, as you said, also knowing your karmic wounds or the things that you came into naturally. And I know this, looking at my south node is a hard place because it's in Cancer, but it's also where my Chiron is. So it's like
Wow.
the wound is the gift, but also, the south node is your natural gifts. So it's a
Wow.
difficult place for me. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Wow, but Chiron is also the planet, like the excuse me, not planet, the asteroid of like your greatest healing capabilities as well. So it's like the wounded healer. It's like those wounds that you have and how you're going to heal them, and those tools that you developed as you're healing them, so that you can present them and help other people that have those similar wounds or have those similar, or are calling in those healing spaces. So
Mhm.
it's so
Yeah,
interesting. That makes a lot of sense.
it's fascinating, isn't it? It's something I've dived into, and that's why I want to help creative people, because as a creative, I've experienced the challenges, the fear of being seen and heard and shutting myself down because it feels safer. So it's fascinating how your challenges can lead to your purpose. And
Oh my gosh. Yeah, right?
have
Yeah.
you seen that in your own chart? Have you worked with that? I'm sure you have.
Oh my gosh, yes. So, of course, Saturn, the planet of obstacles, those obstacles that are put in our path so that we can learn the lessons that we need to learn. That is so powerful, and I could go on and on and on, but specifically my moon and my Pluto are opposite.
Oh wow. Okay.
It is quite a journey. That has been one of the most, like, that's where my attention was called so deeply, to understanding myself, creating more transformation for myself, because Pluto, the planet of deep transformation, life and death, to death and rebirth, and then moon being emotions, inner world, it's like
Mm.
a constant, like, it's intense, it's intensity. But I feel like that's also where I'm able to look into other people's inner world and see where they need that transformation, see how it needs to be presented to them, and then giving them that insight that I'm channeling from my inner world. So it's like you said, those obstacles, those spaces within us that can be like really hard, it's like also our greatest gifts at time. It's like, and I see so many parts of the chart that are like that, which is like why I say empowerment and evolutionary astrology, because we can sit here and talk all day about the lower vibrational, the unevolved aspects of all these archetypes. But really at the end of the day, what we're here to do is it's just to evolve and to grow. And so, like, for example, whereas Virgo can be seen as critical, but they're looking at spaces that need to be healed constantly because they're the healers. They're here to heal. So it's like there's two sides to everything. If you're looking for the bad, you're going to find the bad. If you're looking for the good, you're going to find the good. So it's all about really looking for the good, looking at where can I evolve, where can I change for the better, for my greatest good and for others' greatest good. So it's like with that moon and that Pluto opposition, it can be really intense sometimes.
Oh gosh, I can feel that. Yeah. So because your moon is in Gemini and then your Pluto, I guess, is in Sagittarius.
Exactly.
Wow. So, and also that's, as you said, as Pluto is about deep transformation. And I'm at the moment, I'm so pulled in by Pluto, as I mentioned earlier, because Pluto has been transiting my natal sun. So it's
Powerful.
yeah, it's going, I can imagine from a different, feeling for you, but it's like going to that deeper place, it's looking at the shadow parts, the parts we've hidden, the parts we've suppressed. And I've really been working, the myth of Persephone and how going down to the underworld actually illuminates, it brings it to light. And so I imagine with your Pluto on midheaven, like I'd love to dive into that. What is that like for you? I mean, I can see why you do evolutionary astrology, particularly Pluto's on your midheaven. It makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah.
But I'd love to know how that process is for you.
Yeah, I had never realized this until my friend Charlie King had shared this. Like, this is powerful. This is like rolling over your chart. You are here to create change. You're here to create transformation. And this is the light that you're meant to really shine onto the world. But what was the question? I just wanted to make
sure. No, it's fine. So how does that Pluto on your midheaven, how do you see that manifest or play out in your life?
Yes, I feel like it is unavoidable for me not to address where I see transformation needs to happen. Like when it comes to like even working at a job, if I see that people aren't being treated evenly, if I see things aren't working, I'm going to step up and I'm going to say, hey, this isn't fair. Like, this isn't working. Like, this isn't, like, no matter where I am, what the situation is, even if I want to hide it, it's like unavoidably it just comes out. And especially with that Aquarius rising, wanting evolution, pushing for evolution, and that just like naturally flowing out of my chart, it's like if I feel like things aren't even, if I feel like someone needs transformation and they're avoiding it, I'm like, I like want to put it like subconsciously, I'm like putting it in their face. No matter what that may be or how that may look. So it's like it can make people uncomfortable at times, and I don't mean to make people uncomfortable, but it's just like I'm constantly shining this light onto the world of this is the transformation that you need. This is the transformation. This is where you need to see death. This is where you need to see rebirth. This is where this transformation needs to happen. So
that's incredible. And then I just love that archetype because it's happening to me. I've really been diving into that because I think it has so much richness, right? And it's, I think as people, we're always looking for, acceptance and validation from others. But what I found from that, Pluto in the chart, and I'm sure how you work with it, it's if you don't look at those parts you've hidden or suppressed, they're just going to appear at another time. So it's really, I feel that through astrology, we can look at the shadow part and actually illuminate things, which makes life much more peaceful. And, we're more in line with our purpose and our gifts.
Yeah, so, exactly. And we need that contrast. We need that contrast to feel enriched and like if everything was just white all the time, it's like we need that shadow. We need to see that shadow self. And then diving into Lilith as well and looking deeper into that shadow self and looking at all these archetypes within us that share and show our shadow self so that we can look at our shadows and say, this is where I need to work on. This is my evolution. This is my transformation. This is my shadow self. This is where I need this transformation and death and rebirth. And yeah, there's so much power and so much wisdom that comes from just like acknowledging where you need to transform and where you're karmically being called to transform within this life path, which is so beautiful, and the gift of Pluto. But Pluto, of course, can be seen as like kind of scary, because transformation for a lot of people is scary, and they see it as scary, but it can be so beautiful. And it's like kind of like the rainbow, as cheesy as it sounds, the rainbow at the end of the storm is just like, healing isn't pretty, and it's not linear, and it's not this sparkly, like it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's hard. It's doing the hard work. It's like looking at those shadows, diving deeper, looking at your traumas and all of these things that make you who you are, but the things that aren't easy to look at, looking at the pain and transforming it into lessons and beauty, and being able to see that and shine light on that is so powerful and such a gift from Pluto.
Wow. Yeah, totally relate to that. And do you, I'm interested, do you attract people that are quite Plutonian with that signature?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like I do see a lot of Scorpios, because, and it's interesting with my sun being in Taurus, so it's like my sister sign, we're opposites. So whereas I am very Taurus, because my Mars, my Saturn, my sun, they're all in Taurus.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's that?
Good a stellium, well, almost stellium.
Yeah, right, almost stellium. And then yeah, I don't know that I particularly attract them, but I feel like I attract more of people that need some type of guidance, need some type of Plutonian energy themselves, rather than people that already have it. It's like, even karmically, where the family of origin I was born into, it's like transformation needed to happen here. I am the catapult for this. And yeah, so it's like, I feel like I'm karmically placed to divine timing, divine guidance in these spaces that need transformation of some type. Whereas, like, rather than attracting people who already have that quality within them, it's like supplementing this to people that have that, or they're looking for it, even if it's just their higher self guiding them, looking for it.
Beautiful. Yeah, makes sense. We're attracted to a part of us that is almost missing, or we don't know how to integrate. Yeah.
Right, that law of attraction.
Yeah, I think everything's a mirror, like you say, how you're saying about the north and south node. You know, you're attracting those people, and that was what you're meant to look at. And I noticed that I get a lot of people with moon in Capricorn coming to me.
I was thinking that as well. I do as well. That's so interesting.
Yeah, so you know, it's that sense of, well, you've got a stellium in Capricorn, so use that self-mastery and use that wisdom from the depths, as I like to say, to help them emotionally. Because that's, as we spoke about earlier, I think that Capricorn, or people with a lot of that energy, find it hard to express their emotions. So
I was thinking that as well. Yeah.
Giving them permission, like, you can express yourself. It's not a weakness, you know, get used to asking for help, because those people find it hard to ask for help.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. My partner has triple Capricorn.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. How does that work with your chart energy?
It is so beautiful. Like, it's insane. I think something that me and her talk about a lot is that we attribute so much of our growth as a couple to astrology, because it was really whenever we had this reading with my friend Charlie King that she was like, that's what's going on in your head all the time, like your Mercury's in Aries, like, whoa, like whereas her Mercury's in Capricorn, so they're square each other.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's something that we've had to work through, of course, is like not completely, there's not always this like flow of mental energy, which communication in a relationship is so so vital, right? So it's just like working through those and seeing like this is a space that we need to work on, and we're gonna make this work because like we want to work towards a future with each other for all of time. And of course with being Capricorn, it's like she's like dedicated to that path and like dedicated to that way.
A bit stubborn.
What's that?
They can be a bit stubborn if they know what they want.
Oh my God. Yes, I understand that so much, and I see that we can both be stubborn, because my sun being in Taurus and her Capricorn sun, it's just like there's times where I'm like, we're being stubborn, like what are we doing? Like, you know, like let's talk about this, like let's move past this. We don't need to be feeling like stuck in this emotion or energy that doesn't serve either of us. But yes, with moon in Capricorn, moon is in Capricorn, my moon is in Gemini, so it's like such different energy. I see these as like even more opposites than like you know,
quite different.
Yes, quite different. So it's like, what's that?
I was going to say, really learning to honor the different parts of you with the air and earth, just that different energies.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say, Karen.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But whereas I have a lot of air in my chart, she's got a lot of earth in her chart, which is such different energy again. So it's like I am bringing her up, I lift her up, whereas she grounds me back down. And it's just such a beautiful cycle of me showing her like, oh no, like we need to take time and space. Let's like feel our emotions. Let's create some sacred rituals around the moon. Like let's dive deeper into our like that watery side, as well as like the air, which is like communication, diving deeper into these intellectual conversations, like sharing that mental energy with each other, sharing that, having that flow between the two of us. And then of course grounding down with the earth within our charts, where she grounds me right back down to earth. Like I attribute so much of this like whole journey, or it's like Charlie King, my friend, she was like, she said this about my partner, she's like your life hack.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. So she's really, I know, right? I love it too. And so she's like really able to ground me down, really able to connect me back to the physical realm, where I'm like in my head, I'm like, oh, I had like this idea and this idea and this idea. She's like, let's make a list. Like, let's put this on the calendar. Like, let's ground this down. Like you are here for this, and I honor this, and we're going to help you get to where you belong. So beautiful. That's been a beautiful part of our journey. Yes. And of course with the fire once again is like that passion, sharing passion. So there's so many different parts of the chart, and they're all activating each part, and it's crazy. It's crazy to be with somebody and studying their chart and studying your chart and looking at how these charts fit together, how they have these like the squares, and then the conjunctions, which are so beautiful, the trines. So it's just like looking at all aspects of yourself and all aspects of this person, and understanding like, this is where I'm at, this is where you're at, let's meet in the middle, let's find common ground, let's talk this through, let's work through this, because we both deserve this. We both deserve to feel heard and feel loved and feel validated, and just being able to come together and look at each other fully and completely, and seeing all aspects of ourselves, not only of course our mental energy and our emotional energy, but our shadows and our growth journeys and what we're meant to do, our purpose. So it's like there's so many areas of the chart, and being able to combine that with a partner in a sacred partnership, it's like, wow, we attribute so much of our growth within our partnership, within our relationship. Yeah. To the
incredibly powerful. Yeah. The fact that you're both doing that deep inner work, you know, because I know that, you know, being on this path, it's so important to share and grow with somebody. And the fact that you can both go, oh, this is my, you know, Mercury or whatever in Aries, but actually see it play out as well.
Yeah.
That self-awareness is where I guess the connection builds between you two, which is incredible. So
it's such a journey.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. It's just such a journey. That's all I was like, it's so not linear. It's like healing and connecting, and it's like just this sacred dance that just happens in the ether.
Beautiful.
Just, yeah, it's
Yeah,
magical.
got
But
to
yeah.
honor every part of it. So
Amen.
as well, do you work with the moon? Because I know you started talking about the moon. Do you use that work with your clients?
Yes, especially if someone has never seen their chart before, I definitely want to dive into the moon with them, because the moon is so powerful. The moon is, of course, our inner world, whereas the sun is our outer world, our masculine. And in a patriarchal society here, it's like where we're so focused on the masculine, so focused on these goals that we have to reach. We set all of these like expectations for ourselves in the physical realm, that we have to do this, we have to like have this goal by this time. And it's like validating that we are on this journey in the physical realm, and our masculine energy is there for a reason, but also knowing that we have this beautiful intuitive guidance that happens within at all times, and listening and validating that, because this feminine is so, it's just such a beautiful part of ourselves. And we so like, it's so easy to invalidate that, because we're taught to invalidate these, like this feminine energy within society. We see it happen all the time. So like diving deeper into these feminine sides of ourselves, and validating these emotions, seeing that they're coming up for a reason, that they're bringing wisdom, and we don't want to skip over these energies, and showing people how their emotional energy is presented to them, so that they know how to work with the energy, right, and evolve through it. And even giving people like the archetypes, whereas with my moon in Gemini, if I'm feeling like scatterbrain with all my emotions everywhere, analytically breaking them down, having conversations constantly within my own mind about my emotions or about something that happened, it's like I so frequently have to go within, and I realize that both of these Gemini, with it being the twins, both of these pairs of eyes are like stuck on one thing, and I have to like pull them up, like pull these like eyes apart, and like be able to see the full picture, because this like Gemini symbolism, it helps me so much, because I feel like when these Gemini faces are faced towards like different ways, I see the full perspective. Whereas if they're stuck on one thing and they're both like chattering about this one thing, it's like I'm going to be so stuck on this one thing for so long, and it's like that's not going to serve me.
No. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that Gemini archetype, I find fascinating. I have one planet in air, so I'm lacking in air. But yeah, I love the way you talk as the metaphor, like you're actually using that archetype to help yourself get clear and to go within.
Mhm.
But funny enough, I was born to two Gemini parents, which is interesting. So I
Wow.
see that energy play out a lot. The quick mind, but the playfulness that comes with Gemini is incredible, and the youthfulness of that
Yeah.
archetype. It's really interesting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like to as well, just to sort of come towards the end of this, but how, if people want to work with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, of course. So I have my website, butterflymedicine.co, and so that's where I do like all of my booking. I have like a tab on there, book your reading, and you can book through my website. So that is, of course, where like a lot of my offerings will be presented, if there are future offerings, current offerings. And then of course my Instagram, butterfly.medicine, I offer a lot of graphics. I share a lot of my art in that space, as to giving people some tools to learning astrology, to seeing the energies that are going to be presented with them, but being presented to them within the next month or even that current day. And also tools such as like I did like a daily practice, and like I do energy clearing ones sometimes. Like there's just like different tools that I put out there. So yes, when it comes to working with me, I have my website, butterflymedicine.co.
Okay, I'll put all the links to your work. And so do you have any like new offerings or anything you're focusing your energy on at the moment?
Oh my goodness, of course. Always. So right now I'm working on, I actually have them with me. I created these 3 years ago. And so whenever I started teaching astrology, I knew that I was going to need some type of physical guidance for people, so that they are grounded with me in the information, because astrology is such a language, and it's such an ungrounded language, and it's been an ungrounded language for so long. And so what I really like to do is be able to ground this information down so that it's something that they can work with and use. So I have 3 different zines that I've made. They're just like little paper books. These are older copies of these. They have been revised many times since this, but I have these guys, and yeah, one is the planets and the signs, and then we have the houses, and then we have exploring the aspects and the asteroids. So there's lots of a lot of information in here. And speaking of Pluto, of course, this is what I open right up to, but this is kind of the format.
Okay. Are they for sale as well, or are they with is that the support you give alongside for your clients?
So right now, I am not offering these anywhere, but I will be in the future. I'm going to be copywriting them and finalizing and creating graphics for them, which I'm like already in the process of doing. It's just such a process, and I definitely will be offering these alongside of classes, but I'll also be offering them on my website as just like if people want to learn, because I know I learn best on my own. So that's going to be an offering. So and of course, someday I want to do a card deck, which would be
beautiful.
That's like,
love that.
Of course, in the making, because it's such a long term. Maybe not, but we'll see. But it's just like,
love it. Also, I love your illustrations. So you've got the art and the knowledge, and you can create. So everyone, please check out Madisyn's Instagram. It's beautiful with all the graphic illustrations you share there. So lastly, just we've talked a lot about astrology and how it helps people with self-awareness and empowerment, which is incredible, and I very much relate to your work. So is there any last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with people?
Yes. Never dim your light. Always shine bright. No matter what the circumstances, no matter who in the room is not going to agree with you or hear, for a reason. You have purpose. Everyone has purpose. You're here for a reason. And trust that. Trust your intuition. Trust all aspects of yourself. Trust the masculine, this drive to move forward, and this feminine, this drive to connect within and connect to your intuition and your emotions. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. Shine your light. Be yourself, because we all are here. We're all human. We all have wisdom to share. We all have something that somebody else is looking for. So trusting that you have value. We all have value. Trusting that you're loved. You're loved not only by yourself, you're loved by all the ascended masters, your guides, your angels, your higher self. You're so divinely loved. We're so capable of divinely being connected. We're so naturally divinely connected, but we just have to throw out that telephone line to really pull that wisdom down, right? And of course, we're all here. We're all sacred. We all have value. We all have purpose. We all have a beautiful light, a very unique light to shine onto the world, and not holding back. These self-limiting beliefs are so easy to hold us back, right? And the more that I stepped into my purpose, the more I stepped into this beautiful work with butterfly medicine, the more I was met with these self-limiting beliefs. So pulling those blinders of self-limiting beliefs out and seeing the long-term goal, seeing I have a light and I'm here to shine it, and this is my purpose and this is what I'm doing, and validating that, and knowing that it's a journey, knowing that it's like it's as much as we would like it to be, it's not quitting your day job and just starting this new journey, because it's such a journey. It's sometimes it does happen overnight, but it's usually a journey of validating and financially supporting your business before your business financially supports you, right? So it's like
yeah, wise words. Wow, thank you. I was getting goosebumps when you were sharing. So it's divinely inspired, and love what you're saying about shining your light, because so much we dim ourselves, which we shouldn't be doing anymore.
Yes, exactly. So we all have that beautiful light, and knowing that and being completely authentically ourselves is our greatest gift, right? Integrating all aspects of ourselves, because they're not not one thing. We're
Mm.
multi-dimensional beings. We're poets, we're artists, we're astrologers, we're intuitives, we're healers, and validating, like, I am this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and I'm this, and that's what makes me me, and that's my light, and that's my truth, and that's my purpose, and that's my power. So validating yourself, validating your journey, validating this being that you are, this blessing of this life that you've been given, because we're here for a reason. And like, what's your legacy? What are we leaving behind for future generations? So
Beautiful. Yeah, love that. Giving yourself permission. So much wisdom in there. And just thank you so much for sharing your heart, sharing your wisdom and everything. And I will put all the links so people can connect with you and work with you, because you have so much to offer. So thank you so much, Madisyn. It's been a joy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so grateful. So
Oh, you're
grateful.
welcome. Thank you.